All right, y'all. Joined by Taylor Zarzour and Matt Stinchcomb, the broadcast crew. We're missing Alyssa Lang, but it's a big production day for her on her show Out of Pocket on the SEC Network, so I'll promote that for her. But, gentlemen, we got a big Dogs on Dogs week coming up. You guys have been in the booth together a time or two. What are you looking forward to with this game specifically off of that Georgia butt-whooping of Oregon at Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Well, I'll just say that, Wes, it's great to be with you. I'm excited to be in Athens, Georgia, because Georgia doesn't typically play their games, it seems, in Athens. The last 5 times they've played football have not been at home between the hedges, so it's going to be great to be back on campus. And this game is going to become a Stinchcomb family divided game, as I believe a girl that is in high school now, Janie Stinchcomb, will be playing volleyball for the Samford Bulldogs. So I'm excited. I think we're going to spend 3+ hours against the wishes of Matt Stinchcomb talking about that on Saturday.
Yes, Taylor just mentioned the house-divided volleyball element to this game. Can you comment on how complicated that's going to be to navigate?
Yeah, it's a fair observation, and the part that made it easier, I thought, prior to her decision to play volleyball at Samford, was that there was a commonality from a mascot standpoint. So that there's an easy affinity there. So I couldn't screw that up if I were to slip up and say "Go Dogs" or something during a broadcast. No one really knows who I'm talking about, but I do think the fact that there are a few distinctions between a volleyball team and match and a football game, that I will be able to divorce myself from any affinity that I might have that I otherwise wouldn't have. So I do feel as if I can maintain some level of objectivity.
Yeah, I mean, you're a professional in the booth, but everyone knows that you're a dog. So, Taylor, when you see Stinch back on campus, you see him get that Georgia look in his eye, that gleam of, man, I spent my glory days here. Do you have to rein him in a little bit? Do you have to kind of cut him off when he starts rolling about his time playing for the Georgia Bulldogs, knowing Kirby Smart, name dropping, and memory dropping all those exclusive times he's had with Kirby?
I actually try to perpetuate it. I try to accentuate it as much as I can, because when he's in town, nobody else pays for anything. He is the unofficial mayor of Athens. So I sort of enjoy being on his hip for a couple of days when we get back to Athens. We pulled this trick on him, Kirby and I did a couple of years ago, where we know how much academics means to Stinch, and we showed what Kirby made in his freshman year in one class in a graphic, and we put A next to Kirby's name, and we put incomplete next to Stinch's. And I thought Stinch was going to have a coronary in the broadcast booth. He didn't like that. Kirby liked it a lot. But no, he's the unofficial mayor, despite the fact that he still uses an iPhone 2, and you are holding up a phone to a microphone right now, just so we can hear what Stinch has to say on this broadcast.
Look, we're flexible here on the Georgia show, and we're going to make it work, and that's just how it goes. Stinch, when you do talk to Kirby in an environment like this, you're one of those guys. When we're sitting in the media room and Kirby's hammering us about something that he doesn't particularly care for, he says, you guys, that's his thing, you guys care about this, you guys write about that. You're one of those guys for a few hours when you're in the booth, Stinch. So is it hard to get some of those premium insights and nuggets out of Kirby when you're sitting down leading up to the game? And I'll give you a warning, man. I don't know if you heard, but he kind of had a spicy press conference yesterday because the guys didn't practice all that well. And you know how that goes ahead of a team like Samford. All due respect to them, he learned from the best in Nick Saban. He's going to dial up some of that animosity.
Yeah, but I will say, I think we all agree that spicy fill-in-the-blank head coach's name is always the best version, right? Nobody likes a bland head coach. So even when they're torching us a little bit, that hair usually grows back. So if they go in there and they show up with their flamethrowers, you kind of rally, and you get some good answers that way. Sometimes there are answers that don't even make sense from a syntax standpoint. So they'll just put together words that add up to nothing, but you can tell that they were angry about it. So that's always kind of fun. For Kirby, he plays things pretty close to the vest, so it's not always easy. I will say that a lot of times you'll see it, and it's in games that aren't overly thought to be overly competitive heading in. So you end up talking about things that are less tactical and a little bit maybe more big picture. So that's interesting because they're usually a little bit more open in that regard. But I will say that some coaches say more than others. So on a scale of 0 to Lane Kiffin, I would give him about a 4.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not too bad. This question's for both of you guys. I know, Stinch, you can't really hear Taylor, so I'm going to let Taylor go first. Which game from the SEC slate in the opening weekend surprised you the most?
This is really dangerous, by the way, when he can't hear me. I can say anything I want about him. Always like that. I guess honestly, our game kind of surprised me, Wes. Ole Miss looked pitiful in the second half against Troy. In the first half of the game, I was really impressed by all their new running backs that they have. And clearly, if they decided to keep running the football exclusively in the second half, they would have blown Troy out of the water. It would have been something like 49-10 instead of 28-10. But they tried to let Jackson Dart loose in the second half and let him throw the football, and he did not look good against one of the worst defenses he's going to see this year. Troy brings back a lot of players, but talent-wise, they're nowhere close to what they're going to see each week in the Southeastern Conference. So I guess I was a bit disappointed in Lane Kiffin's offense. I know he was. They have Central Arkansas this week, and they're going to play Luke Altmaier to see what he can do, and before they play Georgia Tech in a couple of weeks. But I guess I was just surprised at how far behind the quarterbacks were for Ole Miss. And then that FSU-LSU game was thrilling, but it also felt like the level of play was like the Independence Bowl or the Birmingham Bowl. It didn't feel like that was a game that belonged in that stadium where they play the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, LSU and FSU were evenly matched for sure, but not necessarily a good thing if you're a fan of either one of those schools. What about you, Stinch? I ask you this specifically because, I got to bring up your preseason prediction of the Florida Gators. I'm curious if that Florida-Utah game didn't surprise you a little bit to see the Gators look as good as they did.
Yeah, I was surprised. The okey doke is, you hear about and you watch these teams from other conferences, and you might hear commentary that says, this is a really physical bunch. These guys are physical, and they're really good and tough along the lines of scrimmage. I heard that about Oregon. You watch them, and you're like, wow, no, they really do. They do look rough and tough. But turns out that the disclaimer that you have to slap on comments like that is whatever conference they're playing in. So, Utah and Oregon, they're tough. They're a physical, hard-nosed Pac-12 team. And I do think that is a statement that changes perhaps what is otherwise a fair observation. No, yeah, they're physical, but they're not really SEC physical. And you watched Florida in that game, and they ran the football well. And it wasn't just Anthony Richardson who went out for over 100 yards. It was impressive to see what they were able to do. So, yeah, I was surprised. And I'll tell you what was the most, if you're a Florida fan, encouraging element was that they played to the end, all the way to the end. And the fact that they did that, and that was the difference in winning the game or losing the game, that was impressive.
What did you think about Georgia's offensive line against Oregon, Stinch?
I thought they played well. They had some mental errors that they need to clean up. There's some free hats, some unblocked defenders that are a concern. but their ability to get young guys in early. I want to say Warren McClendon by the third series had already rotated out. That's an impressive development to be able to pull off. Mamarius Mims gets in there. Next thing you know, McClendon's out in there at left tackle, and they're able to roll some guys through. Guard's still a question mark, and I think that's an area that they can still improve. It looks like the rotation at tackle makes sense. The center makes sense. But it's the guards where we might see some new faces in different places. But I thought overall, considering that there was some shuffling and some new spots other than really Van Pram and McClendon in there, that I thought they played well. And there's definitely opportunity for improvement.
Taylor, Georgia has a lunch pail guy, a real gym rat, in Ladd McConkey. He's taking the conference by storm, potentially college football as well. But how about the combination that Georgia has in Stetson Bennett, McConkey, who was briefly Georgia's leading rusher as a wide receiver, Kenny McIntosh, Georgia's leading receiver as a running back? Do you feel like you had to do a little bit of extra homework for an offense like this and Todd Monken to keep up with what's going on the field?
I love it. I love how creative they were in that first game of the season. And, yeah, when you have Stetson Bennett running all over the field, McConkey all over the place, and then you've got your running backs catching passes for over 100 yards receiving, that makes for a creative day. I was so impressed by the way that they played. And you referenced it earlier, Kirby upset with the way the practice went on Tuesday as we sit here on Wednesday. It sounds a little Alabama-ish, doesn't it? That, after you win a national championship, you try to continue to play at the same standard. It's very challenging to keep your guys fresh and driven and motivated every single day. If the standard this season is winning a national championship, you have to have that same level of hunger, and you have to constantly challenge your guys to play at that same level, and that's very difficult to do. But what we saw the first game of the season reminds you of the way Alabama typically comes out in one of those neutral site games. And I don't think there's any question that Georgia is at the beginning of a dynasty here, that you're going to see this team compete for national championships over and over again for years to come. And as we sit here today, I know it's easy for the three of us, given where we live and what we typically follow in college football, to say this, but if you gave me Alabama and Georgia, or you gave me the field, I'm taking Alabama and Georgia. And I think that that's going to remain the case the next few years until we get an expanded playoff.
No doubt. Yeah, it does seem like the scales are tipping that way even more so. Stinch, last one for y'all before we wrap up here. Obviously the Georgia-Oregon game was a neutral site, but Dogs fans packed out Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But this is the first home game. I know it's not an SEC, night game to bring the fans back between the hedges as they now are defending national champions. But how juiced are you, Stinch, as an alum, to get back, see all those Dogs who have finally realized the thing that was eluding them for 40-plus years?
I'm pretty excited. I think it's been, somebody did the math on our crew. We might use it on Saturday. I think it's like 15,000 days since the last time Georgia played a home game as a national champion, or as a defending national champion. So that's a long time. And so the excitement has been able to build. And other than, the parade and being in the stadium for the celebration, this will be the first time back for the fans. And so it'll be exciting to see, not only in that environment, but for the first time generationally, so many Dog fans that will have never experienced that. I certainly would have never been in the stadium in that circumstance. So I'm pretty fired up, and I would anticipate that the fans will be as well.
Good stuff, guys. Can't wait to hear the call. I'll be listening intently. And I know you guys are going to bring your A game. You always have an entertaining broadcast. Y'all have a great dynamic. I wish Alyssa could have joined us. She's a pro as well, and y'all are going to crush it. So enjoy your time in Athens. Appreciate your time with me this morning.
Thank you, Wes. We appreciate you.
Wes, you're the best. Thanks, man.
Yep. All right, take care, guys.